The Voyager program's aim was to explore the solar system and the mysteries of space, and it's still doing it.
This began as a mission of discovery, a bold leap into the unknown, meant to capture glimpses of distant planets, and then drift quietly into the dark.
The spacecraft is now the first human-made object to have left the vicinity of our Sun and entered a completely new region of space.
But nearly 5 decades later, Voyager 1 has done something no one expected. It changed direction. It sent back signals laced with patterns no scientist can explain. No command was issued. No known force detected.
Space detected by Voyager 1, an unexpected gift to scientists who are now certain they know where the probe is.
Now, with its antenna still locked on Earth, it moves through space as if guided by something unseen. This isn't just a technical anomaly. It feels like a response.
And finally, NASA on Tuesday said that it has found a heartbeat signal.
And it raises a question we may not be ready to face. A mission meant to fade. This was never meant to happen. When Voyager 1 launched in 1977, it carried humanity's dreams, not expectations of eternity. Built to last just 5 years, it was designed to explore Jupiter and Saturn, snap some historic photos, and quietly fade into the cosmic night. What followed was far beyond what anyone could have imagined. Voyager 1 not only completed its mission, it surpassed it, diving past the orbit of Pluto, out of the heliosphere, and into the uncharted territory of interstellar space. For decades, it sent back whispers from the edge of our solar system, plasma waves, magnetic fields, cosmic rays, and scientific data that fascinated but never alarmed.
The Voyager program's aim was to explore the solar system and the mysteries of space, and it's still doing it. Voyager 1 lifted off on September the 5th, 1977.
As years passed and its power source weakened, scientists expected only one outcome: silence. Each transmission was weaker than the last, each delay a reminder of just how far it had gone. And yet, it endured. Voyager 1 became more than a spacecraft. It became a symbol, a ghost ship drifting through the stars, faithfully sending echoes of the unknown back to a distant home. Then, in its 46th year, something changed. No command was sent, no maneuver planned, but Voyager shifted. Its trajectory veered slightly, enough to raise alarms. At first, engineers assumed a minor glitch or sensor error. But as the data was verified and checked against decades of records, one truth became impossible to ignore. Voyager 1 had altered its course entirely on its own. At the same time, it detected a low-frequency hum, faint, constant, and unlike anything recorded before. Not solar, not cosmic radiation, not a known anomaly. It pulsed with eerie precision, mathematically spaced, almost intentional. And with that, the mission that began as exploration took on a new name, whispered now in hushed voices at NASA. The sound that shouldn't exist. It started with a hum, barely noticeable, buried deep within the data stream of Voyager 1's plasma wave instrument. At first, no one paid it much attention. After all, the spacecraft was old. Its instruments decades past their intended lifespan. Glitches were expected. But this wasn't a glitch. The sound persisted. It pulsed in rhythmic intervals, steady and strangely symmetrical, as though following a pattern. When engineers filtered out the noise and enhanced the signal, what remained was something eerily deliberate, a low-frequency tone that didn't match any known cosmic phenomenon. NASA's Deep Space Network confirmed it. Multiple antennas received the same frequency. Cross-checked, retested, verified. The signal wasn't random. It wasn't interference. It was something new. Panic didn't come immediately. Scientists are trained to doubt, to question, to look for mechanical error. But the more they searched, the more unsettling the truth became. This sound didn't resemble cosmic background radiation or particle interaction. It wasn't a solar flare or a burst from a pulsar. It didn't align with any map of space that NASA had on record. Even more unsettling was the precision. The hum followed mathematical intervals embedded with harmonic structures that hinted at logic, possibly even language. A few researchers dared to call it a message, but that word was banned from internal discussions. Instead, they called it an anomalous frequency event. But the silence surrounding the discovery didn't stop speculation. Off the record, astrophysicists, linguists, and cryptographers began analyzing the hum. Some found parallels to early Earth-based attempts at communication with extraterrestrial life. Others warned it could be natural, but from a source unlike anything we've ever encountered. And then came the turning point. Just days after the signal appeared, Voyager changed course. Suddenly, that hum wasn't just a mystery. It was a trigger. The uncommanded turn. Voyager 1 is over 15 billion miles from Earth, so far that its signals take over 22 hours to reach us. Its movements are slow, limited to tiny course corrections using ancient thrusters that haven't fired in years. So when the spacecraft shifted its trajectory without any instruction from Earth, it sent a ripple of shock through the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. It wasn't a dramatic turn, just a subtle, calculated reorientation. But in deep space, even the smallest change matters. Engineers raced to check for software errors, sensor malfunctions, or delayed pre-programmed commands. Nothing. The logs were clean. No fault, no glitch, just a silent, precise adjustment, as if the probe had realigned itself to focus on something. What made it even stranger was the direction Voyager turned toward, an empty patch of space. No nearby stars, no planets, no known gravitational influence, just void. Yet Voyager's once dormant camera array, deactivated since 1990 to conserve power, was now pointed directly at it. Why? What was out there? Some speculated it was a long-delayed system fallback, an old code fragment triggered by cosmic radiation. Others believed it was the spacecraft responding to the strange hum it had detected days earlier, as if something in the data had triggered a behavior nobody had programmed. But one theory quietly gained traction, that Voyager wasn't alone. The turn wasn't random. It had symmetry, purpose, as if guided, not by Earth, but by an external influence. And this idea unsettled everyone. Because if true, it meant something interacted with the spacecraft, something possibly intelligent, possibly watching, and perhaps, just perhaps, Voyager had seen it first. Whatever the reason, the uncommanded turn marked a shift, not just in the probe's path, but in the entire narrative of space exploration. This was no longer science fiction. It was happening. Patterns in the silence. After the unexpected shift in trajectory, Voyager 1's transmissions began arriving with subtle, almost imperceptible distortions. At first, it seemed like standard signal degradation, normal for a spacecraft nearly half a century old. But deeper analysis revealed something far more complex. Hidden within the timing, frequency shifts, and data packets were repeating patterns, structured, deliberate, and eerily intelligent. These were not random glitches. The modulations formed binary-like sequences and harmonic patterns that defied explanation. Scientists at JPL were baffled. Was this some previously unknown interaction between the probe's instruments and the interstellar medium? Or was it something more? The signal was sent through Earth's most sensitive decoders. Cryptographers found mathematical ratios repeating with alarming precision, ratios tied to prime numbers, Fibonacci sequences, and even harmonic resonance. These aren't natural patterns. They're the kind we associate with intelligence. And yet, no known source existed. No pulsar, no star, no object in the line of sight could have caused it. The deeper they looked, the stranger it became. Some segments of the modulated signal bore eerie similarities to the Arecibo message, humanity's 1974 binary broadcast to the stars. Not exact copies, but echoes, mirrored structures. Could it be a coincidence? Or had Voyager crossed paths with something that heard our signal and was now answering? Theories swirled. Dark matter fields, unknown electromagnetic phenomena, and space-time anomalies, but none fit. The distortions behaved more like responses than natural events, mirroring Voyager's earlier transmissions, as if something had received them and was now replying in kind. At this point, it became clear. Voyager 1 wasn't just drifting anymore. It was part of something, a silent exchange across the stars. What began as a probe sending back data was now receiving something in return. And whatever was responding knew we were listening. A message from the void. When Voyager 1 left Earth in 1977, it carried more than instruments. It carried a message. The golden record, a gold-plated copper disc, held music, greetings in 55 languages, sounds of Earth, and diagrams showing our location in the galaxy. It was meant as a hopeful gesture, a time capsule for anyone, or anything, that might one day find it. For decades, the idea of it being discovered was seen as symbolic, not practical. Until now. As Voyager's signals became increasingly complex, researchers began to notice something deeply unsettling. Within the modulated data were faint echoes, patterns, and waveforms that resembled parts of the golden record. Musical sequences with slight alterations, segments of spoken greetings, transformed. Even pieces of the pulsar map that pinpointed Earth's location appeared to be mirrored in the signal, distorted, yet undeniably familiar. It was as if someone, or something, had not only discovered the record, but was actively referencing it. Not copying it, but replying, using it as a framework to communicate back. This changed everything. If the golden record had been received and decoded, then Earth had effectively broadcast its identity, culture, and coordinates into space. And now, something had responded. It wasn't random. It was targeted, deliberate, intelligent. And Voyager 1, once a passive messenger, had become the medium for a dialogue no one expected. The question now was no longer if someone was listening. It was whether we had already been heard, and what that listener intended to say next. Now, first, like always, be sure to hit the like button down below. It helps us out tremendously with the reach of this video. Thank you. Whispers behind closed doors. As Voyager 1's behavior grew more unusual, so did the atmosphere at NASA. Public updates became brief and technical, offering little explanation for the course correction or the strange signals. But internally, urgency grew. High-level meetings were held behind closed doors. Access to Voyager's raw data was quietly restricted. Former mission engineers were contacted. Something was happening, and those closest to it were no longer treating it like a routine anomaly. The signals were the main concern. They weren't just distorted, they were structured, patterns too organized to dismiss as random interference. Cryptographers and AI specialists were brought in to analyze them. Some patterns mimicked musical intervals, others mirrored logic sequences. Still others bore a resemblance to parts of the golden record itself, but altered, as if interpreted. The shift in Voyager's trajectory raised even more questions. Why turn toward a direction where no known object existed? Why now? Engineers scoured old code for automated behaviors, but nothing could explain the precision of the movement or the alignment with the region of space now under scrutiny. Off the record, a few insiders began calling it what many feared: contact. Not in the Hollywood sense of aliens appearing on a screen, but in a quieter, more unsettling way, a response from the dark. Despite growing internal concern, NASA held to its public explanation: a data anomaly under review. But among those still watching Voyager closely, the truth was becoming clear. It hadn't just encountered something strange. It had been noticed. The empty sky. The direction Voyager 1 turned toward remains one of the most puzzling parts of this mystery. Astronomers pointed powerful telescopes to the same coordinates and found nothing. No stars, no galaxies, no recorded objects. Just darkness. To the naked eye, and even our most advanced instruments, the region appeared utterly empty. But Voyager's unwavering focus on it suggested otherwise. Scientists began to question if the absence itself was meaningful. Could it be hiding something? Some suggested that the area might be cloaked, masked by an unknown form of energy or bent space-time, making it invisible to conventional observation. Subtle gravitational lensing effects and minute fluctuations in background radiation were noted. Too faint to prove anything, but strange enough to raise eyebrows. Meanwhile, Voyager's transmissions continued to evolve. Data packets carried more complex modulations, some resembling fractal patterns or recursive codes, structures often found in nature, art, and even neural networks. It no longer felt like random data. It felt deliberate, like a process unfolding. What disturbed some researchers most was the growing sense that Voyager wasn't observing an object. It was being observed. The spacecraft seemed to behave like a vessel that had drawn attention. Something in the void was watching, responding, and possibly guiding. And so, the empty sky no longer felt empty. It felt alive. Voyager 1 had turned toward the dark, toward a place we thought held nothing. But perhaps that nothingness was something waiting to be found. The question we were never meant to ask. As the world's brightest minds pored over the signals, the silence from officials grew louder. Public updates became vague, filtered, and cautious. But behind closed doors, a quiet truth was forming. One that challenged everything we thought we knew about the universe. For the first time in human history, we weren't just asking what was out there. We were beginning to ask, who was watching us? Voyager 1 was designed to observe, to record, to send. But now, its behavior suggested it was also receiving, or worse, being guided. The golden record it carried wasn't just a gesture anymore. It had become a beacon. For 47 years, it traveled silently through space, broadcasting Earth's location, language, music, and science. Now, something had heard it. And as the patterns in the signal became more refined, more intentional, the question grew heavier. Had we accidentally invited contact? Was Voyager ever just a probe? Or had it become a kind of cosmic trigger? A mirror reflecting something we weren't meant to see? What began as a mission of exploration had become a message loop between worlds, ours and something else. And the deeper we listened, the clearer it became. We are no longer alone. Maybe we never were. The question isn't whether Voyager made contact. The real question is, what happens next? Because when the silence of space is broken, it's not just us who start listening. It's everything that's been listening all along. The turning point. In the weeks that followed, the signal didn't stop. It evolved. Each new data burst brought greater complexity, as if the sender was learning, adapting, refining its communication. Linguists noticed emerging parallels to human syntax, pauses, rhythms, and structures that mirrored the foundations of language, but no one could decipher it fully. It wasn't just language. It was something more intricate, something not meant to be understood in the traditional sense, but felt. And then came the final anomaly. Voyager's signal, long consistent in strength and delay, Voyager 1's signal didn't just transition. It became a processor, anticipating a message beyond our decoding. Suddenly shortened by a few milliseconds, an impossibility unless something had intervened. Either the signal was being boosted, or Voyager was no longer where we thought it was. Calculations confirmed it had made another tiny adjustment, one that put it on a return path, not to Earth, but inward, toward the solar system. Speculation erupted. Was it being pulled? Was it following a signal? Or was it simply coming home? NASA refused to comment, but among those still quietly watching, one conclusion echoed. Contact had already occurred. What we had thought was a lonely probe had become a bridge, and whatever was on the other side had chosen to cross. Voyager 1 may be old, fading, fragile, but it's no longer silent. It carries more than data now. It carries possibility, wonder, and a whisper of something far greater than we imagined. This isn't the end of Voyager's journey. It's the beginning of something else, something we never expected, and perhaps never should have invited. We are the observed. For decades, humanity looked to the stars as explorers, brave, curious, and alone. Voyager 1 was our messenger, carrying the story of who we were into the vast unknown. But now, as the signals grow stranger and their path shifts once again, a sobering truth begins to settle in. We may not be the observers anymore. The data tells a story, not of malfunction, but of intention, not of silence, but of response. Every distorted frequency, every mathematical pattern, every change in orientation, all point to something watching, responding, and engaging. And it's not bound by our understanding of science or distance. It doesn't need to speak our language. It only needed to know we were listening. Voyager 1 has become something more than a spacecraft. It's a mirror, reflecting a gaze we never expected to meet. Not the gaze of monsters or invaders, but something far more haunting. The realization that we've been seen, that in the darkness between stars, awareness exists. And now, the illusion of cosmic solitude has cracked. As Voyager continues its silent journey, the world waits for answers, for meaning, for the next signal. Was this a greeting, a warning, or a test? No one can say. But one thing is certain, whatever is out there, it knows we're here. And for the first time in history, we are not just sending messages into the void, we are receiving them. And from this moment on, we are no longer alone. We are the observed. This isn't just the story of a spacecraft, it's the story of us, reaching into the unknown and finding something staring back. Voyager 1 was built to explore, to drift in silence. But now, it whispers of something more, of contact, of intelligence, of the terrifying beauty hidden in the stars. Whether this is a new beginning or a final message, one thing is clear: the cosmos has heard us, and it may be answering. If this left you questioning everything, subscribe, share, and join the conversation. Because the universe just got a little less empty, and the silence will never feel the same.